Asian Licensing Conference 2021. This year, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, HKTDC, and BusinessFocus is jointly launching a conference series, namely the Entrepreneur Dialogue, Invent a Business with Creative Use of IPs. The series aims to inspire more to invent businesses with innovative uses of IPs and disrupt the market, hence stimulating new market demand and transforming industries which would be conducive to the economic recovery, especially in Asia. Today, we are very happy to have Mr. Peter Yan, CEO and co-founder of Pinkoi, to share with us. Hello, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
That's wonderful. So, Peter, can you please describe your journey and inspiration of founding Pinkoi?
Believe it or not, I was an engineer when I was working in the US in Silicon Valley. But then I spent most of the time kind of looking for a unique select shop or going to design expo. And in those events, I had a very amazing experience. I find some of the products actually from Asia. And then I started to do some research on Google and try to find out where they come from, what kind of brand, and also the creative business owner behind the brand. And I was amazed by the story. And then I think, is there any possible that in Asia that we can collect and maybe gather all these creative business owners in a community and help them to sell to the world? So that was kind of where the story began. So, and we kind of see this as an emerging opportunity. I think people and customers in Asia, they're looking for unique and quality lifestyle, and they're looking for this kind of product and brand and also IP to enrich their life. So that was a very simple start point.
Well, that's great. So you were always interested in design products. So what made you and your founding partners set foot on Asia's designer products specifically?
When we have this idea, we want to validate how big is the business opportunity. So we do some research and we find out that according to a report in the United Nations, there's about 500 billion worth of economy scale for the creative business in Asia. And for the world, and there's around 40% of it is actually generated in Asia. And we think, okay, number one, this is definitely a very good business opportunity because it has a huge economic scale. And number two, there's many very good creative business owners. They are doing original IP and also design. They're doing the abandoned product and try to market to the market, but they couldn't find the customer who love their product. I think the sales channel was very limited at the time, and they don't really have a very good tool, good platform to sell the product to the end market. So there was this, the first of all is the economy. We think this have a huge business opportunity. Number two is actually the pain point that we identify for those creative business owners. They couldn't reach the market. At the same time, customers are also looking for unique and quality product and IP, but they don't know where to go. They can only go to this kind of physical store, but it's very hard for a physical store to accommodate different variety and diversity of product around the world. And then we have a very simple idea what an internet business can do to help connect the IP creative business owner with the market.
That's great. So Pinkoi actually created a bridge between the customers and also the creative talents. So how many designers and brands does Pinkoi manage now? And do you actually decline designs? And what kinds of supports does Pinkoi provide to the designing community?
So currently, Pinkoi in the Pinkoi community, there's about 20,000 brand business running on Pinkoi, and we do decline. And because Pinkoi is a creative platform, I think that the reason we choose this kind of curation policy is if we think down the road, 10 years, 20 years down the road, there will be a lot of data, and people wouldn't have so much time to kind of browse through all the data. So we make curation as our central part. Our principle is we want to make sure we only filter the best IP and product design for our customers, so they don't have to spend a lot of time searching through thousands or millions of data. Okay, so we do reject brand, and our acceptance rate right now is about 30%, meaning that if there is 100 applications want to open a shop on Pinkoi, then we only accept only 30. And a joke is that the acceptance rate is even lower than getting admitted to Harvard University School.
That's true. Yeah, you guys are being very selective. And by providing this curated marketplace, I think you're making it a lot easier for the customers to find what they need. So I know that Pinkoi will invest in more than 10 design brands, and the Taiwanese fabric design brand In Bloom is the first brand of such. Can you tell us more on how Pinkoi helped In Bloom to grow as a promising brand now?
We choose In Bloom as our first portfolio is they have a huge vision. I think in their pitch, they told us that I think In Bloom is the miracle in Asia. So if you are familiar with Miracle is a brand original from Finland. Its market cap is about 300 million. And the core of the Miracle IP is the pattern. So they create lots of patterns on different kind of objects. So they have a very important IP. And In Bloom, they have the same characteristic. They have a very strong patterns, which they use to license or sub-license to different partners. So we actually believe that In Bloom has a very good positioning in the IP industry, and they can help other creative entrepreneurs to create more objects using their pattern. But after we invest in Bloom, we actually provide a lot of help, especially number one, In Bloom used to focus on offline business. So as an online business, we try to give them more sense about how digital work, how digital work look like, how they can run online business to using online business to help their offline. That's number one. And number two is help them to dream big. I mean, if In Bloom can become a brand in Asia, not only a brand in Taiwan, that would be huge. So we try to help them to think internationally, how they can do international business with the business partner in different countries, different market. We also provide some practical help, like how they can shoot better photo, and how they can do better SEO online to attract more organic traffic, how they can provide a better customer service when they receive a bad review on their shop. So we actually give them some practical best practice of running a business.
It's great because Pinkoi is so experienced in branding and e-commerce now, and you are using your experience in helping other brands to grow their brand as well. So I think this is wonderful. So Pinkoi is such a well-known e-commerce platform now, but is also setting up pop-up stores in Asia and even opened a physical shop called Pinkoi Space at the Mills in Hong Kong recently. So what is the reason for this online to offline strategy?
Okay, first, I think that I want to talk about why we choose Hong Kong. Because we think Hong Kong is the most international city in Asia. It represents the very high level of internationalization. So a lot of people ask Pinkoi, why not just open a shop in Taiwan? But instead, we choose Hong Kong because we think Hong Kong is a great symbol for internationalization. And number two, when we opened the shop in Hong Kong, we were kind of wondering, like, okay, if there's 100 people coming to our shop, what's the percentage of them actually know Pinkoi? And the result is actually a surprise to us. I think over 50% of people coming to our physical shop, they don't even know Pinkoi at all. So the offline shop is actually a very good customer acquisition strategy for Pinkoi to serve Hong Kong customer better. And number three, I think is we always listening to the customer voice of the market. So there's many Hong Kong customer or like members for many years. They keep telling us, "Hey, Pinkoi, there's many product I like on Pinkoi, but it's online. So if I can touch them, if I can feel them, if I can actually see them in person, that would be great. So by listening to our customer and the community, we know that they have this kind of strong needs. So that's why we decide to take a very bold move, like to open a physical shop in Hong Kong and to try to, I think the fundamental reason is we really want to serve the Hong Kong market better. We try to understand and fulfill the customer expectation. And we try to, every month, we have different curation for the Hong Kong market. Sometimes it's a Japanese theme. Sometimes more like, a variety from different fashion IP in Asia. And sometimes we also work doing a lot of crossover event, IP crossover event, and co-branding event with other business partner or brand in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I do agree that formulating your strategy around customers' needs and by listening to what your customers want is very important indeed. So Pinkoi Space Hong Kong has launched co-branded products with two heritage Hong Kong brands, namely Chicks and Red A. Could you tell us more about Pinkoi's strategy behind the move?
For Red A and Chicks, they are very famous local brand in Hong Kong. They are loved by many people. I think what Pinkoi can do, the strategy behind the Pinkoi partnership with them is, we think I think back to our vision, we think design can be a universal values. So design can also work with the other businesses to create a new design or rebranding. So I think that's the fundamental reason we want to work with Red A and Chicks. We try to kind of play or redesign or create a new IP based on their original product. So we have a lot of great designers. They can work with Chicks and the Red A to recreate their product. I think that's a win-win strategy, because I think for the fans of these two Hong Kong brand, they might think, oh, this is innovative, this is new to me. And for the designer community or on Pinkoi, they will think it will be a great opportunity to work with two heritage brand in Hong Kong, and they will feel very proud by contributing to the local market and the local brand. So that's a part of strategy, that we can acquire fans from two different brands by having this kind of co-branding and IP crossover to brand. Pinkoi with Red A, Pinkoi with Chicks. This kind of co-branding is not only the trend, but also a very solid marketing strategy to raise more awareness in the market.
Right, and I think by working with these local brands that Hong Kong people love, it brings Pinkoi to Hong Kong people's hearts as well. So since co-branding is the market trend, apart from launching co-branding campaign for Pinkoi itself, do you also put up other co-branding campaigns for designers on Pinkoi?
Yes, we do. Pinkoi as a brand, we actually see Pinkoi as a brand for brands. I mean, a lot of people see Pinkoi as an e-commerce platform. We think Pinkoi is a marketplace, but we don't see it this way. We think Pinkoi is a brand, not only a marketplace. We are the brand that empower many great creative entrepreneurs to generate a large scale of economy. So that's why, I mean, co-branding with more famous international brand is very important. It creates an opportunity for those creative entrepreneurs to sublicense those characters, those IP, and use those IP in their design. For example, we work with Mifi. Mifi is a very international. It's an international brand with a history of 60 years, and people love them because the IP character deliver a very warm and caring spirit to the market. And we like that because it actually matched to the Pinkoi DNA. So when we proposed to Mifi, it's actually a very tough role. We actually our Hong Kong team spent almost like 1 year to discuss with Mifi headquarters, to discuss all the details. We need to review, like, I think at least 40 pages of English contract, to know the details and kind of back and forth. It's a very challenging task to co-brand with an international brand, an IP. So, but it also creates a very good opportunity for those creative entrepreneurs on Pinkoi to work directly with this IP. Because think about that. If you are an independent brand, you won't be able to dream about working with Mifi at all. Because when you dream about working with them, you need to think from the business perspective. You probably need to pay a lot of license fee. Okay, you probably couldn't afford it. So you have a lot of creative idea, but you couldn't afford it. So it make this kind of co-branding is really impossible. But having Pinkoi as a bridge, Pinkoi, we can directly work with Mifi and try to nail down the deal for sub-licensing the IP to more creative entrepreneur, so they can use the Mifi IP to create a product that people love. Another example is we also work with Snoopy. So we work with cats and dogs. Okay, Mifi is, and for Snoopy, we also using the same model. Pinkoi work get the IP license from Snoopy, and then we work with our designer to use the IP to create more product people love. Sorry, it's not. Mifi is actually a rabbit. That's my mistake.
No worries, we know Miffy is a rabbit. So you mentioned about Pinkoi working with international IPs. I know that Pinkoi is also set to go international. So which countries have Pinkoi expanded into so far, and what is Pinkoi doing in order to get into these markets?
Okay, Pinkoi will start in Taipei, in Taiwan. So Taiwan is our first market to address. And then the second market we go is Hong Kong, and then we launch our simplified Chinese version to serve customer from mainland China, and later we also enter Japanese market. We have Japanese version, and then we have Thai version. So I think our roadmap to internationalization is go according to the data. So we actually monitor the traffic data to identify where is the customer. So when we see there's a spike of the traffic from a certain market, then we'll start to put some resources on that to see how it turned out. So it's basically our strategy is very data driven. We monitor numbers and we decide what would be the next. So where is the customer, and then we allocate resources to align with it. And also, I think the challenge is by running the international businesses, every market is a different animal. I want to tell a joke. When we want to enter Japan, we think we know Japan very well. I think people know Japan because they think they travel to Japan a lot. But when as a business, traveling to Japan a lot is not necessary, meaning that you can run business in Japan. It's totally different things. Traveling to Japan and running a business in Japan is totally different. So we had a lot of challenges. We also make a lot of mistakes when we enter Japan. I think the fundamental is you gotta understand what's the local practice. You need both in legal and finance, and we need to understand what would be the habit for the local customers. For example, we need to work with a Japanese bank and also payment gateway, because Japanese customers, they are more comfortable paying to Japanese payment gateway instead of international brand. So that's something that we need to pay attention to. And another thing is, when we deal with so many different markets at the same time, it's very important. It's even impossible to know the preference of each customers. A customer from Japan and also a customer from Hong Kong, their taste and preference will be totally different. How do we deal with that? We need to leverage an AI So we have actually very solid AI infrastructures. We collect a lot of data from the user based on their behavior. Either they browse the page, how they interact with the Pinkoi, like they put this IP and product in a cart, or they fabric this IP. We actually collect all this kind of footprint and using AI to recommend and to personalize it, everyone's experience. So if you use the Hong Kong customer go into Pinkoi website, you will see a very unique personalized homepage for you. And if you are a frequent visitor to Pinkoi, your homepage is it will be very unique. It will be only unique to you. Yours homepage will be very different from the homepage of the person next to you. So we try to using personalization to overcome the difficulty and challenge we face in running a global business.
Right, so consumer behavior is definitely very different in different parts of Asia. So talking about consumer behavior in general, are you seeing some changes on consumer behavior over Pinkoi during COVID-19 pandemic? And what are the extra supports provided by Pinkoi to designers to survive over pandemic?
During the pandemic, I think almost everyone in our community face a lot of challenges. Their offline revenue has been decreasing a lot, but their online, they didn't put a lot of resources on online, so their online revenue is not enough to sustain themselves. So we actually do several things. Number one, we try to host many online webinars and sessions. Try to tell them how to face the challenge during the pandemic. You need to watch your cash flow. Okay, what kind of strategy, what kind of payment term you need to request for your business partner? You need to have a shorter payment term to try to get the cash in your bank as fast as possible, and try to change their policy. For example, there is some changing their policy to serve the customer better. For example, they might have a very strict refund policy, but during pandemic, you need to relax the policy a little bit, because when the market is not going well, you need to the bar to serve the customer will getting higher, because they probably not very willing to spend. So some of the relaxation on the policy isn't necessary. And number two is we also try to lower our tech rate. I think it's not very common for a business to lower the tech rate during this kind of crisis, especially when the business itself also suffer from that. So as a Pinkoi as a business, we also suffer from the pandemic as well. Some of our business was seriously hit by COVID-19. But I think back to our heart, we think it's very important to support the creative economy and all these creative entrepreneurs, because they have been fighting many years to come this far. It would be very pity if we just let go and we have to rebuild everything after this COVID-19. So we try to share the same feeling of what they suffer at the same time. And also we try to do what we can do. We lower the tech rate. So we lower the tech rate to 5%, which is a lot. And this kind of policy help the creative entrepreneur to feel more comfortable, and they can get more revenue during the time to help themselves to get through the crisis. So I think as a business, we shouldn't always think about the top line or even the bottom line. We should also think about what kind of social impact we can do to our community and also to the market. So we actually do that for our community.
Before we close today's discussion, Peter, if you were to give one advice to aspire other entrepreneurs, what would it be?
Okay, it might sound very cliche, but I think one advice is to dream big. I think it's during the past few years of running Pinkoi, we have been very lucky and fortunate to meet many creative entrepreneurs. They all have a very strong IP and design, but they have less confidence about themselves. They are very afraid of dream big. They're always thinking, if my, okay, I think they always think, if someone buy my product, it's a really blessing. I only want to dream that people buy product from my local market. They never dare to dream that someone from somewhere in the world will purchase their product and through Pinkoi, and they'll ship the product to their country. I think a story that we constantly hear from our designer or creative business owner is when they receive an international order, they got really panicked. You might think it's really odd, like, this, why you receive an international order, you should be very excited, but they're very panicked because number one, they don't know how to ship it. Number two, they think this is a fraud. They don't even believe someone in the world would love their product. They think it is a fraud. And then number three, they call Pinkoi and send email to Pinkoi and say, Pinkoi, is it really a legit order? I cannot believe that someone from Canada or Australia or even like Middle East would buy a product on Pinkoi. How they can find us? They just cannot believe it. So I think it's dream big is very important for the new generation of creative entrepreneurs to think, hey, if I have a great IP, I should have confidence of my IP and think my IP can present a very good impact or social impact to people not only in my market, but also people in other markets as well. So dream big.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's indeed a very insightful sharing. To those of you who are watching, if you have any questions or interest to further exchange with Peter or explore business collaborations with Pinkoi, Peter and his team are now attending the Hong Kong International Licensing Show, which is concurrent with Asian Licensing Conference. You may ask HATDC to help connect you with Peter. Thank you and bye-bye.